Aloha, welcome to the Live Ukulele podcast. My name is Brad Bordessa, and in this episode, we're going to talk about some singing tips and how to express yourself better as you're singing, how to mechanically make some improvements, and also kind of ride along as I get a critique from my friend Joey Bradley, who dropped by the other day to talk story about singing. He's very passionate about it. He knows quite a bit about it. And for me, playing ukulele that's my main instrument. That's what I'm comfortable doing. And for him, it's more the flip side. He's more comfortable singing and feels like that's his main instrument. And the ukulele for him is something that he has to work for. For me, it's my voice that I have to work for. So it was an interesting discussion, hearing about his thoughts on singing and then also getting his feedback on some things that I could do better. Before we get started, please go check out liveukulele.com/store to see all of the premium lessons that I create. It's a great way for you to pick up some inspiring information that you probably don't run across that often. There are ebooks and video lessons covering a wide variety of different topics. There should be something interesting for everybody. And if you do decide to jump in and purchase something, that directly helps support all of this free content that I create, including the Live Ukulele podcast. So mahalo nui for your interaction over there and for allowing me to teach you over the airwaves and through the internet. If you want to stay in touch, please go sign up for my newsletter. It's how I like to correspond with you folks. And beyond the podcast, it's the best way to stay up to date on what's going on. It's kind of a roundup usually that I throw out. Try to do it every month. It doesn't always happen, but a once a month kind of collection of everything I've been working on and some news and updates that maybe don't necessarily get into the podcast. So you can check that out, liveukulele.com/sign up. It's free. I won't spam you. It's just good old-fashioned email every once in a while. And then I will send you some sales emails when I launch a product. But that's because you should know about them, and I'm excited to share about them. And so keep an eye out for that stuff. It's all good. You're tuned in to the Live Ukulele podcast. And here's my conversation with Joey Bradley about singing. All right, so singing. Do you have things in mind?
It's the thing. It's the reason I do all this stuff.
Singing.
If I could just sing, I would be fine. Except I have pretty specific about the musical part of it, so I'm doing it myself. But singing is really, it's just an amazing gift that human beings have, that they can do that we can do that. And the level of satisfaction that I think you get out of singing is kind of, you can't replace it with anything else because it is right there. It's in you. It's the most direct thing that you can do musically. There's nothing to hold. There's nothing. In fact, it's so mysterious, and that's what it gives a lot of people and myself problems. It's because the connection between your voice and what you produce singing-wise is very non-tactile. It isn't like you can pick up your ukulele and make a G chord and there you can see your fingers are touching it. When you want to make a note, it has to go through these processes that are really out of your control. Like the vocal cords. You can't feel how they work.
Right.
And then you have this mental connection between a sound that you want to make and this apparatus within your anatomical structure that you can't control because you can't see it and you can't feel it.
So there's a lot of trust.
There's trust, and there's developing the synapse between what you think that you want to utter and how it comes out. So there's that part of it, which is the mental connection to the sounds that you want to make. Then there's what is, there are physical properties that influence the kind of sound that you make, like the resonances that you have in your sinus cavities, or how large your lungs are, or how thick your vocal cords are, or how thin they are, or whether they actually seal tight or whether they don't seal tight, how quick they open and close. So all that stuff is the physical part. But then there's just, if I want to sing a C note, not that I can sing a C note off the top of my head because I don't have perfect pitch, but just to go, ah, or ah, how do I make that choice? How is that choice made when I can't go in there and make these vocal cords move with my fingers, say, like I can a string? So that's the mechanics and the mental part of us uttering sounds. Then there's the whole thing about what we utter.
Right.
What's coming out, like words and melodies and harmonies. And so it's mysterious. It's just such a gift. And it's, for me, the ultimate form of expression is vocalizing.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely noticed that once I started singing, because I didn't sing at the beginning, I was just an ukulele player. But once I started singing, I was able to connect to music in a very different way and appreciate that. And I think that's the move to make. Like you see guys like Jake or whoever, like, doesn't really sing. So not in any way what he's doing is wrong, but like there's a whole nother aspect that the singing, another connection that the singing brings to it that is powerful.
Well, so many of the instruments that we play take their cues from the human voice. When you do vibrato on your ukulele, it's because you can do vibrato in your voice and you've heard it. When a saxophone, when a tenor saxophone plays, a tenor saxophone player is a lot of time thinking vocally. The human voice is the first instrument. It's like it's right there with every person. And I should say right away that every single person can sing. People deny that they can. But I've brought a lot of people around in terms of their singing.
And how do you approach that? Because I'm sure a lot of people listening have, been told like, oh, you have a terrible singing voice, or any of those typical Western things that would downplay their ability.
Well, first of all, we have a wide variety of voices that we listen to that are radically different, from, say, Bob Dylan to Pavarotti, from country twangs to opera singers to funk rappers to, the voice is just, it's so permeable. It can become so many different things. And we are accepting of a lot of different kinds of voices. But one thing that you'll find with all those voices that we hear and are accepting of is that and this is another of the mysterious parts, what the voice communicates and which voice that you hear communicates to you, So there's no wrong voice. There's only, if you want to sing, it's just finding out how it works. You could have the worst voice in the world. And I can remember absolutely before I started singing what I sounded like, how bad I sung. I can recreate that, because it was off key and it had no tone and it was not supported, and but slowly, just by repetition over and over and over again, and imitation, I was able to get myself to be a better singer. And then with intention in your communication, you can take that instrument, that sound, whatever your sound is, and you can make other people hear it and hear your intention and hear your communication.
And so how do you share this with people who are less comfortable or who maybe aren't confident enough to do the journey on their own, like it sounds like you've done?
Right. The first thing I do is ask people what their goals are, of course, and then I do a little assessment. And it's just playing notes on a simulated keyboard on an iPad, and I find out how quick their response is to get to a note that they hear, how their brain is processing to their vocal apparatus. Some people who are great singers they can sing a song, but you play them a note and they can't figure out whether it's the octave down or the octave up of that note, or whether it's a lot of people will sing a harmony to the note that you play for them. So one of the parts of the training is to get people to understand the feel of, say, middle C. How does it feel in your throat, in your body, to make middle C? So it's subtle, very, very subtle. And so I ask people to hear that middle C, close their eyes, and absolutely focus on what's going on when that happens. Can they feel it somehow? Because if you can get the feel of how something happens in your body, then you have a better chance of reproducing it. Then we work on just getting the part where you hear it and the part where you produce it closer together, so that over time I'm playing a C or a G and you're producing a C or a G instantly that you hear.
And so I'm sitting here thinking that I'm probably not super good at that. I can sing a song, but finding the notes, it's not something that I've worked on specifically like that. How does that exercise benefit real music? Like, what is the connection?
Right. Well, what it does is it down the road, it's going to make it so that you can make more interesting choices, because you know how to produce that note, and then you know how to move around that note. So if you can get your process to be faster, then you can do more improvisatory things. Excuse me. Like instead of just singing one note for one word, you can do some melisma, and you can sing multiple notes for the same word. So if a note, say a musical line ended in the word play. So you could end that line by singing play, or you could end that line by singing play, 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 play. So that's using multiple notes for one word. Right. That's melisma. So if you can learn to connect your process all together so that you're accurate and quick, then you'll have a more colored musical palette. You can use a lot of colors. There's lots of singers that do it different ways. Like Frank Sinatra uses almost no melisma. He gets to the end of a phrase and he sings the note. That's why he's powerful and his voice is really rich, but he's not like Mariah Carey,
sure,
who's like all over the place on the end of her phrase. She's just taking that note everywhere and then bringing it back down to exactly where it needs to be. But there's different styles in terms of that. And so once you get your process so that you can hear a note, produce it, then you have a better chance of coloring what you want to do.
That's interesting.
I mean, I noticed in your singing, you don't do melisma a lot.
I like Frank Sinatra, man.
Yeah. I like Frank Sinatra too. It's just different styles, you know? And, but I have heard you start to do it more.
Yeah. I mean, for me, singing is not a natural thing. Like, it's in our band, Ryan is the vocal guy. Like, he can sing, he hears the harmonies in his head. He's like, no, like, sing this note. And he just bing, bing, bing. He lays us all out so we're where we need to be. But for me, it's kind of unnatural. And I feel like,
well, I would say this, that's how a lot of people feel, but it's your first instrument.
Yeah, that's true.
You wake up in the morning and you can do that in bed before you pick up your ukulele, you know? Mm-hmm. And you probably do it in your head a lot. Mm-hmm. And you practice in your head. And that's one thing that can help too. The more you practice in your head, and then you check yourself to see, let's say you're trying to emulate a Hank Williams song. I got a feeling called the blues since my baby said goodbye. Then you check yourself to see, how close did I get to what Hank Williams is actually doing?
So you listen to Hank Williams to go back to that?
That's one of the things I always teach people is about yodeling. Yodeling is a primal thing that human beings have done and it was communication, you know? And there's different subtleties of yodeling that you can put in a lot of different things. You can put a little yodel in the middle of a phrase and it fits, even in R&B and rap, you know? Then, okay, so once we've worked on the process of trying to get a student closer to being accurate and quick, then we start working on genres, you know, blues, jazz, certainly country, reggae. What's the language within a particular genre that makes it sound like that kind of singing? That's really fun.
That's super interesting
to do with people. So I put them through, you know, I make them sing through their nose so that they sound country, you know, so they can do a country ballad. Or, you know, I make them sound. The only thing that I stay away from is trying to teach people something operatic. But you can sing, you know, pop ballads that are operatic-esque, you know. So we go through a bunch of genres then. And then the other part of it is communication. So communication involves your intention and your emotional connection with the music that you're doing. And that part of it can mask a whole lot of the other parts that are not happening correctly. It can mask being off key. You can incorporate being off key into your style if you're communicating something that people hear. One of the things for me is my technical skills are limited, but my communication skills are strong. So I get by a lot because whatever I sing, people hear. They hear it, and I have the ability to put it together, both phrasing wise and melody wise, to make it understood. That's a little more nebulous to try to teach people. But if you're emotionally involved with the music that you're doing and you're really deep into it and you're living some scene in your head about what you're singing, you're actually living a situation while you're singing it, your ability to communicate increases tremendously. And that's that's the thing we're trying to do here.
Just communicate.
Just communicate, yeah.
Yeah.
I notice with a lot of situations, people are so involved with the musical part of it. They're so involved with the songs and playing them right, playing the chord structure right, you know, playing their instrument right, that the communication gets watered down, that you're just involved with so many different things that you're not communicating. And you can make a situation work a whole lot better, I think, that if you have less focus on the peripherals around it, and you're just working on the communication that you have between whoever is hearing you.
That's wild. So what is, like, if somebody is not communicating, what is the first thing to go? Like, from a vocal standpoint, like if I'm focusing too much on my ukulele and I'm just making the sound but not communicating, what to you is lost?
The focus of whoever's listening to you is going to get lost. Because if you're playing songs, if you're living in a song structure, that song's about something, and that's got to get across for anybody to care about what you're doing. And of course, the total of it is important, and the best musicians, performers, singers are the ones who put the whole thing together. But if for me, I get by a lot when my playing is weak, or when I'm making mistakes, or I can salvage things by focusing, getting emotionally involved with what I'm doing vocally, and delivering it to an audience.
Yeah.
In fact, I learned the Sam Cooke song "Wonderful World" recently. Both times I've played it out in front of people, I just was lost. I couldn't remember how the changes went, and luckily I'm playing in this one-man band situation, so the song gets carried through. But when I realized I was totally lost, I just stopped playing and just sang the song, and people loved it, because I decided I'm lost in some of the technical aspects of this. I just have to communicate it.
That's a big lesson for people.
I think that's a good lesson, that, most people want to learn the voice so that they can express. They can express these, I've been through a lot of different situations with people. Teaching voice can get real emotional with people, because it unlocks something for people who aspire to do it but really haven't done it. When they get to that point where they can really open up and really let it out, I've had many people break down and just cry about it. Sometimes I cry about it too.
That's good stuff, because I think, especially for, myself and my listeners, we come to it from a ukulele and that side of the music first. And I think the communication side of things is less emphasized, because when you're playing like a beautiful solo instrumental piece, you're communicating maybe emotionally, but there's not like actually a message, because there's not the lyrics, there's not that component going along with.
Yeah, we human beings, especially Western culture and pop music and all our different genres, we get strongly emotionally connected to songs that we love. They move us, and we use them. It's like almost every year there's a recording that I get attached to, and it just becomes my environment for a long period of time, and I listen to it over and over and get into it, and it becomes a very important part of my life. And for me, mostly it's with singers. And I think that happens to a lot of people.
Yeah, because they're communicating something that you feel and can relate to.
Right.
Whereas it seems to me that, like, to do the same thing on an instrumental level, you have to be like just cream of the crop, nail it, and it's got to be like the perfect take kind of a thing.
Well, either that, or you have to have something that you figured out to do that is so distinctive that it doesn't have to be completely technically virtuosic, but it can be so distinctive that it's you, and it's something that people can't get from anybody else.
Yeah, like I'm thinking Santana. Nobody sounds like Santana.
Yeah, right. but nobody sounds like you. And I mean, just to get personal, that's what I love about hearing you play. I hear distinctly what your flavor of it all is.
Oh, well, thank you. That's what I go for.
Yeah. I don't have that in my playing at this point.
Yeah, but I mean, your playing is distinct just because of who you are and how you play. That's the side of technique that people don't think about. Like, people think like technical shredding and perfection, clean notes, but technique is like just how you physically play. Like,
yeah, it's figuring out your map of what works.
Yeah.
I would like for mine to have a lot more breath than it does, So anyway, that's another whole part of it. But with the voice, you automatically get a flavor. I mean, you can change the flavor, and I sing different ways a lot, but nobody has the cavity, this physical instrument that you have. Nobody else has that instrument. So you just learn to optimize it, work with its strengths, try to do better with its weaknesses. And there's just a few mechanical tricks to help you. Just make sure you always have a lot of breath. When I start with people, I have them over-breathe. I have them breathe between every single phrase largely. Once you've decided to do that and you realize that the more that when you have breath, when you have like 80% of your lungs filled to 100%, you're supported a whole lot more. And then you learn to get your voice out of your head. Because most people think their voice comes from their face.
Right.
So most people's voices are not supported from their core, which is where you really want to be singing from.
So to go back to the breath thing, just a little bit of a side tangent. Do you as a vocal teacher, have a preference breathing through the nose or through the mouth?
Whichever is comfortable.
Okay.
But I'm not a super technical, I'm not sure how someone who's, say, classically trained would teach someone about that. But all I would tell people is try them both and see which works best. I think nose breathing in a recording setup can be a little noisier than mouth breathing. Depending, but it also depends on how that all works. Yeah.
I'm just curious because I've heard of some choir folks who have great success where they strictly have their students breathe through the nose, and that lends to greater power and that kind of thing. But anyways, that's sort of beside the point of what we're on. But yeah, I like the idea of your voice being your instrument, because ukulele people buy lots of ukuleles. You, me, we all buy lots of ukuleles to have in different flavors. But like voice you have,
we don't have to buy a voice.
No.
We've got it. It's like given. It's a given. And just for the emotional connection and the immediacy of it as an instrument, there it is for you. And everybody can sing. Everybody can learn it.
Well, I wonder, like, we have your expertise here, and I don't feel like I am any kind of I don't feel like a super, I am confident because I've done it a fair bit, but not because I've like trained to be a good singer. And I wonder if maybe, I don't know, I could sing something and you could critique, or we could work it through some genres. Sure. I would be curious about that, especially the genre thing stuck out to me.
Sure, let's do that.
Okay. Well, do you have a certain song in mind that you think would be nice to work with?
Well, I think what we should do is you should get one of your ukuleles,
okay,
and play something simple and sing with it. Sing something that has English lyrics.
Sure.
Yeah.
This one sort of came to mind. Would you be the wind and blow blow me home? Would you be a dream on the wings of a poem? And if we were walking through a crowd, well, you know I'd be proud if you'd call my name out loud. If you'd call my name out loud.
Cool. That was great. I noticed a whole bunch of different things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lay it on me.
Well, one is that you are relating to your face when you sing. Like when you go out loud, I can hear your nasal cavity instead of it being down in coming from your core.
Okay.
Down here. So what I would tell you is play that same thing, maybe just the chorus, and get a lot of breath and think of it from down here and not up here.
Okay. If you'd call my name out loud.
Down low.
If you'd call my name out loud. Do you suppose that I would come running? Do you suppose I'd come at all?
Did that feel any different to you?
Yeah.
And did you hear the difference?
Slightly. I think at the end I remember to engage my diaphragm a little bit more, and that's when it jumped.
Yeah. So what I heard is subtly, smoother, and subtly this part of it got taken out some.
Okay.
You could do it even more.
How do you get there though? Because I felt like I was trying to sing low, but like it wasn't going any.
The notes aren't any different. All it is where the support is.
Right.
So let's do that same section again. Get a huge breath before you start, and try to breathe wherever there's a spot to breathe.
So just stay topped up.
Yeah, keep as much breath as possible.
Okay.
And so this is one thing that happens with people a lot. They go for a high note and they go, because somehow the note is up there.
Yeah.
It is not. That note, even the high notes are down here, down in the core. So if you support them, if you have breath and you sing them, sometimes I have people do sit-ups to make their core muscles sore, so that when they start singing and they go for that, they feel that soreness and they know that they're using that.
Gotcha.
So, I might ask somebody to do 25 sit-ups a day and make their muscles sore. And then when they sing, you want to feel that you're using those.
So your abs are engaged.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, most of the time. I mean, when you're doing low, soft notes, what you want is breath there. You're not going to be pushing that hard. But when you go for a high note, you want to get a little tension here so that you're not moving it up into your sinuses, but you're making it from down low.
Okay. Maybe the reason people cry is it's so vulnerable. Which is,
it is.
Because it's, I think maybe because it's a connected instrument, it's even more difficult. And I mean, I'm not offended in any way, shape, or form here, but like critique upon your own voice is hard. And I've, remembered that from taking other voice
that's
lessons.
really true. And, when I work with people, I tell them, I'm a singer. I've been through it all over the years to when I could not sing, when I realized I first could sing, and what an amazing thing it was for me. And it's where, if I'm doing that in my life emotionally is so much easier, so much more even when I get that emotional expression. So I'm totally supportive, and I'm here to go through that whole process with you, connecting with it.
Okay, well, let's try. So top up as much air as I can fit.
Yeah, and breathe when you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you call my name out loud, if you call my name out loud, Do you suppose that I would come running? Do you suppose I'd come at all? I suppose I would.
Yeah, it's different. That's a different whole thing, sound than if you go back and listen to these recordings and you hear what you sang first and what you just sang, you will hear quite a difference.
Good thing I'm the editor. That'll be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So then the other part of it is, did you write that song?
No. It's a Dispatch song.
Okay. Then you need to be living that song when you're singing it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know you chose it because you like the song.
Yeah.
But a lot of times what I ask people to do is connect it with something really in their lives and have a scene going on in their head when they're singing it so that you can apply those lyrics to that scene and your voice. Do you play that song just because you like it, or does it mean something to you?
Mostly because I like it. That one I don't feel super duper connected to.
Well, even if you don't, you can make up a scenario that will give that song more heft.
Yeah.
More. It'll be thicker. It will be more impactful for people.
So part of my homework is to paint the picture.
It's good to have a picture, some picture, and it can change within a song,
right?
But I get to a chorus of a song and I'm definitely singing something real that's happening inside me that supports what's coming out of me to if we're talking about to an audience. Even if I'm singing just something to myself, I'm singing pictures, I'm singing scenarios, I'm singing how it relates to me. If you do that and you develop that consistently, you will communicate. And when you communicate, people will pay attention because that's what they're there for.
Right. Cool.
We just kind of, I think that, if I have any kind of gift around this, that's the gift that it is, that when I decide I'm going to sing something, when I've chosen it, it has meaning, and then I'm able to live in that particular song or lyric or, when I'm doing it, and that gets out. That gets out of me and out to people.
Yeah, I definitely could see that that's something that is not part of my gift. And because the focus is like music driven.
It absolutely can be if that's what you want. And to me, this is personal too. When I first met you, you weren't singing at all. Mm-hmm. And now you're singing. And I can remember some of the steps as you developed that. And now, I think I told you when I saw Kingside the first time I saw you, and I said, whoa, your voice you're really doing a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your tone has become much more, polished isn't quite the right word. It's just that you're much more confident in how your voice sounds.
Yeah. And I think that goes back to like the mystery of the stuff in your head and your whole body, like doing the job. Like I've felt as I've become more confident as a singer, it's become easier to trust. Like you just open your mouth and you trust that it's going to happen. Because otherwise you're going to, if you try and manhandle it, it never works.
Yeah, right. I think for you, what I do is do some more imitation of people's voices.
Interesting.
Just so that you can feel how your apparatus works by making a tone in a certain way. Sing some Frank Sinatra songs.
Right.
Sing some, sing some Otis Redding songs and see what you need to do to make yourself sound like that. And it's not that you will, it's just more tools that you have.
Right. Yeah, that's...
Sing some Bob Dylan songs and make yourself sound like Bob Dylan, and see what it takes, what cavities need to be open and what parts of your throat that you use and how wide your mouth needs to be open. And
That's super interesting because I haven't spent any time doing that. It's just like to be singing at all felt like a big deal and just like it is what it is. But I see how, like, I've tried to cop people on the ukulele, like to try and sound like Santana or Jake or whoever.
Yeah, and you figure out, like, if Santana plays a note, what did he do to make his note sound like that? You can you definitely will increase your ability to be musical if you do that with your voice too. Listen to some Hank Williams and yodel where he yodels and see if you can do it.
That's awesome. I'll work on it. Cool. That's great stuff. Yeah.
The voice, it's just a wonderful thing, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, aside from the fact that we do this mysterious thing with language when we communicate with each other, oh my God. And then we take it to another whole level and make it this art form.
Do you have any other thoughts? Anything on the agenda for singing that's an important part of the puzzle?
No, I think I've kind of covered, kind of getting in touch with your mental to note producing process, supporting yourself with breath and core, being emotionally involved with what you're singing, being present with that. Really, I'm not very technical, with it all. It's just working through your process and like I just sing constantly in my head all the time. And really constantly every day I'm always imitating something I've heard. And, there's just lots of different teachers out there, and people teach in a whole lot of different ways. And so if you feel like it's that important, then go to a teacher.
Mm-hmm. I feel like for me, there's so much of because I've done vocal lessons, but it's like continuing to the vocal lesson is more of a reminder of how like the support thing. Like, I think that's just a bad habit of forgetting that since the last vocal lesson. And then you get reminded in a situation like this, and then you carry it forward for a while, and it's just a matter of staying on that and cracking the whip on yourself. And that's, I foresee that being my biggest struggle with keeping it going is okay, so how do I remember throughout all the other stuff I'm thinking about, how do I remember to keep that breath full and push from the bottom?
Well, I think that from a performer's point of view, if you keep the engagement in what you're singing, you're emotionally involved with it, it can mask. A lot of times you will naturally then do what you need to do to make that communication happen. And you will do some of the mechanical things that are important, But the emotional involvement with what you're singing is kind of the last line of need to get something across.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that, but I also don't want to just it'd be nice to work from the best foundation possible.
Yeah, all the aspects are, can lead to you having a better vocal, experience. But yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks so much, Joey.
You're welcome. I love talking about singing.
I can tell. It's great. Yeah.
It's really, it changed my life. I didn't start singing until I was 24 years old.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's a whole different, I feel like.
In fact, my aunt was the piano player in the choir, and she threw me out when I was 13 because she didn't feel like I could sing.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting kind of emotional attachments that we get, and I think the insecurities of I can't sing, or plenty of people have somebody tell them that you can't sing, you're not good enough, XYZ, and then trying to come back to it later is the trick,
Yeah.
Not just technically or mechanically, but like also,
Right.
baggage
Yeah,
wise.
and for me, I sing all the time, and singing out to people is it's a whole different teaching thing than just if you just sing for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But I sing all the time for myself too.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm practicing, but I'm also just singing things that make me feel good. And anybody can do that.
Right. Yeah.
Singing in the shower. The reason that I started singing in a band was that somebody heard me singing in the shower and said, "Hey, you should try out for a band." And I said, "That's ridiculous. That's crazy." But I did it and kept doing it.
Cool. What band was that?
Oh, it was a rock band years and years and years ago in Indiana.
In Indiana?
Yeah.
Where are you originally from?
Indiana.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was wearing leather boots up to my knees and fronting a band.
Wow. This was before the Reggae Project?
Oh, long before that.
Okay.
It was the year after I was out of college.
Wild. So no dreads at that point.
Oh, no. Fro. Big fro.
Awesome. I can't imagine you singing rock music really, but I guess it checks out.
Yeah.
It's all in the inventory.
Yeah. It was fun.
Like what kind of rock music?
Leslie West, Mountain, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Mississippi Queen. I don't know if you even know that.
I'm familiar with the hook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That kind of stuff. And a band with some really good musicians. But that's, that the band were looking for a singer, and so that's what they wanted. That's what they were playing, so I did it.
Cool. There's so much that goes into the artist that never gets seen. I've been thinking about this because I did an interview with somebody the other day, which I thought was a great interview, but she came back to me and was like, "Oh, I kind of want to redo it. Like I've changed some of my outlook, and a project that we talked about is no longer the same." And I've been thinking about that, and it was kind of like, but that's part of the process. Like I think it's good for people to realize that is that you didn't just show up one day fully formed. I didn't just show up one day fully formed. There's so many stories behind that, and I think
there's so many steps. I mean, I've been doing this a long time, and I was literally bad when I started. I didn't know how to connect things. But the part of it that connected within me was just so strong that it's been my path. And I did finally, I taught myself to play instruments, but it's all about the voice for me.
That's cool.
Even, with all the technical stuff that I do, it's still, if I had to drop all that stuff and I could still sing, I'd be fine.
That's great. I'm so grateful for influences like you and Ryan who can guide me on the way for something that I'm not as comfortable with. Because singing can be scary.
Yeah. In a performance situation, for sure, but you can work on it and just for your own joy.
Yeah. Great. Good stuff. I think that's...
Thanks, Brad. I appreciate being able to hang with you and talk about this.
Yeah, thank you. This is great. I appreciate the input and the refreshers, and I think the good insight for everybody who's listening it's great.
Cool.
That's Joey Bradley. He's kind of an underground dude, hard to find. Doesn't have much of an internet presence. You can look him up on Instagram at JSB Sound. But if you ever make your way up to Kohala and the little town of Kapa'au, you can check out Gills Lanai every Friday night. I believe Joey is up there playing from 5 to 7:30-ish is usually the dinner music time frame. But Gills Lanai is a really cool little, it used to be a fish taco shack, but they've expanded the menu, and they really emphasize high quality ingredients these days. You know, they cook the French fries in the beef tallow, and there's fish on the menu and lots of really good options. I play up there with Kingside every once in a while, and we appreciate getting paid to bring our music there and to share our music, but also we go because the food's really awesome, and we really love to experience a nice meal out on the town. And yeah, if you're in the area, it's super worth a stop, and especially on a Friday night, you can check out Joey Bradley there with his little loop station set up and listen to his singing. It's really a treat. And if you do go, be sure to talk story and tell him that you heard him on the podcast. He'd be thrilled. But always love running into Joey and having musical conversations like this and getting to jam with him and all of the great things that come along with hanging out and knowing a musician like him. So thanks, Joey, for being on and for sharing all of your inspiration and thoughts regarding singing. For all of you out there, hopefully that was inspiring and interesting and kind of permission to really cut loose and just sing for the sake of singing, because singing is really that beautiful means of expression that is built into each and every one of us. And, once again, if you're one of those folks who's been told, oh, you can't carry a tune in a bucket, or any other kind of put down on your own singing, I would encourage you to revisit it. And, if you feel like you need to do it officially, go take some voice lessons and try and break back into that world, because it really is a treat to be able to express music in that additional layer way beyond your ukulele playing, being able to sing with that and to sing confidently and to really know what you're doing. It's very abstract, like Joey was talking about, but if you feel like you need concrete information and to know that you're doing it the right way, it's not like ukulele where either it sounds like it's supposed to or it doesn't. Singing has a lot more kind of gray area in between, and you can kind of be doing it wrong and still get a sound. So if you want to be really sure of what you're doing, invest in a couple of vocal lessons. You can really get a lot just out of a couple. If you find a good teacher, they can help you understand all of the mechanisms in your body and how to best use them and how to sing in a way that make sure you're not damaging your vocal cords or anything like that. So really good stuff, but dive in. If you don't sing, try it. Try it. And, I say this every once in a while, but I like to remind people that cars are meant to be driven on freeways, and that is a very loud environment. And so they build cars, as long as it's not an old car that's all kind of worn out. If it's a newer car, it's sound deadened. It's meant to be quiet inside so that the entire sound of the freeway doesn't come inside. And that means that the sound that is produced inside the car cannot be heard outside of the car very well at all. So if you are finding that you're a little bit ashamed of your singing and not ready for the limelight or to share it, or you don't want to annoy people in your house, whatever it might be, go sit in the car, and then you can belt your lungs out and not worry about anybody hearing you, because it is really that isolated space. I'll catch you in the next episode. Thank you for tuning in. Once again, my name is Brad Bordessa. The Live Ukulele podcast is published on the first and third Saturdays of every month. I'll see you in the next episode. Be sure to subscribe if you like what you hear. Check out liveukulele.com. Ahui ho.